2 movies, 3 rounds, 1 winner. Welcome to the Movie Battle Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Movie Battle Podcast. Again, I'm Liam, along with
Eamon.
And last week we had Batman versus Dark Knight. How did you think that went?
A tense, tight affair.
It was a lot longer than kind of we had envisioned it going on.
Batman started off strong, but then Batman came back with a fight, and
true.
Batman defeated Batman with the might
Joker
of
came in
Batman.
with a little bit of his seasoning, and then the other Joker came in with his little bit of seasoning. And then Two-Face, for the knockout blow, I think, gave the advantage to Dark Knight. I think.
The Dark Knight won clearly. Although the Batman
took the lead though.
Batman is a good movie. Dark Knight's a great movie.
Anyway, so today we're going to be discussing the Terminator and Robocop. So 2 kind of films that, like, as a child you always kind of associated together, I guess, for obvious reasons, But
they're the classic robots fighting people.
action guns and
guns. And actually, I realized in the course of watching these that I hadn't watched either of these films in full from start to finish since I was a child. I'd seen bits many times. I'd walked in halfway through and seen Kyle Reese say "Come with me if you want to live," or seen Robocop.
that gas station scene.
Yes.
With what was it? Emil. Yeah. We're dead. We killed you.
But to actually sit down and watch it as a film going experience, I hadn't done it as a child. So essentially, I've never done it because I didn't understand
as an adult.
What was going.
Yeah.
When I did it. Yeah, I was saying I've never as an adult before I watched it, so I've got quite a fresh take on it compared to maybe a lot of people.
That'll be interesting, because I'm like, Terminator is one of my favorite films, and Robocop is a film, like, I think as I got older, you appreciate it on a different level. You kind of understand what it's really about. Like, there is action obviously in it, but you don't pick up on kind of it's laden with humor, throughout the film. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They are very different films. That's clear.
Definitely.
And especially when we got in this task of comparing and contrasting them, they are very, very different films. But
which will make it difficult and interesting, I think, to compare them.
Yes. But let's start off with music.
Yeah.
So Terminator's score was composed by Brad Fiedel, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Brad Friedel.
Both of us, when reading it, always both read it as Brad Friedel, the former goalkeeper for Blackburn, American goalkeeper.
Liverpool, other clubs.
Other Premiership football, soccer teams. But yeah, that's irrelevant. So he has a similar name to a former footballer. But he also composed a good score. So the opening 2.5 minutes for me set the tone perfectly for the entire film. It establishes. Now, obviously, this is mixed with the visuals. But even I think if you took the visuals out, the music alone establishes kind of what's on the line. The faith of humanity. This sense of unease, is just building this worrying kind of feeling of tense.
It's like a showdown. It's illustrating there's a massive showdown about to go down. Like, even in the what do you call it, the prologue piece at the start, right, and it says like the final showdown would not happen in the future, but in our present tonight. Yeah. And that kind of line is a perfect segue into that music.
I just love, as I said, like, just even go back to that first 2.5 minutes, it's just like there's a slow drone establishes the unease, then the drums kick in, and obviously drums linked with war drums, and then kind of you have the more traditional drum sound followed by this kind of more muffled, echoey, synthesized drum sound. Now, and I maybe I'm being extremely pretentious and overthinking things, because this can happen that when you're analyzing something, have I stumbled upon something here? But I thought maybe the two different types of drums are the two different tribes going to war, and the more traditional drum is the humans, and the more synthesized, mechanical sounding drum is the machines, and it's these two tribes fighting together, and the drums.
Yeah, well, I think it's an interesting point, because I found, like, throughout the entire soundtrack, or most of it anyway, that there's an industrial kind of aspect to it, which obviously represents the Terminator.
Obviously, but I thought even within
just that little piece at the start.
We would throughout the whole thing, but I think the fact that they have these two different types of drums, like what they call in music, the call and response, where they're kind of one plays and the other responds, and one plays, the other responds. And so it's like, a war where one faction has, a win, and the other one, retaliates, and vice, back and forth. So it's like what happens in war. It's a story of the whole movie. It's a story of even what led before the movie in that exchange between the drums. Now, again, I'm probably overanalyzing it, but
no, it's interesting.
That's where my mind went when I started thinking about it.
I thought the music like perfectly accompanied the narrative and the scenes and what was going on. Like, I think you made a point last week about how music, it's in some ways I don't know if you said it was like a character, but it plays many different aspects in a film.
Yeah. Music is huge. Like one of the examples I always think back to when I'm talking about film music scoring is Monty Python's The Holy Grail, and The Holy Grail. And when they'd filmed everything and they were trying to find the music for it, and they were doing like really over the top comedic music and trying to find silly stuff, and it wasn't working. And then they finally, in the BBC archives or some archives, they found this proper traditional serious piece, these serious music, and they used that, and that came together completely, because the whole point was you needed an element to kind of ground it in the movies they were responding to. So music can make or break a movie, definitely. There's no doubt about that.
But as I said, though, I think that the music, I thought, was just perfectly synced in with the story and added so much to it. Again, the way I kind of look at the music, I just kind of take examples of different scenes. There was a frenetic energy to the music. Just two scenes in particular. The scene where they're in the car park and he has to get a new car. And then Terminator's in the cop car and spots them. Like that chase scene, and then the one when they leave the motel and they're in the tunnel. Those two scenes.
I'm laughing for a reason. Sorry, finish your point and then I'll come in.
But those two scenes in particular, the music had that kind of frenetic kind of pace that matched it, had that intensity and that kind of, and there's an intimidating aspect to the music as well, which it's like a horror basically a lot of the time. The music fits that. There's another example, just stuff talking about the pace.
But before you go on, because I want to comment on that music.
Okay.
I hated that music.
Really?
Yeah. I thought it's...
Wait, are you talking about the bit that sounds like it's on a Commodore?
It sounded Road Rash.
Yeah.
I was hearing Road Rash.
But what about the bit where it's like da 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 da?
Well, I don't know. I have written down the garage chase shootout scene and the motel escape scene are the two I've written down as the only bits that I didn't like. And I think it's because I was watching a documentary afterwards, and he used the traditional drum synthesizer for those bits, and everything else he kind of played live himself. And it sounded totally out of place to me. Even though I think the whole score is synthesized, but it felt like a Mega Drive or Genesis. For those of you,
I did get a bit of that vibe, but I thought it was just, for me, because it was so frenetic, I thought it matched the frenetic nature of the scene. The fact that how fast they're going on the carriage, or when the Terminator's on the motorbike catching up with them, the pace they're going at, like when Reese says to Sarah, like, Joe, faster, drive faster. It all kind of mirrors.
Yeah,
you know, I thought that was really
the
cool.
writing wasn't bad. Like the musical notes aren't bad.
Yeah.
It's just I can't hear that and not see Road Rash, and it took me out of it, to be honest. Yeah. Even though I love those scenes, and
those two examples that I picked out were two that you weren't.
We'll get to that later, but I want to go back just again because the first 2.5 minutes for me, as I said already, it summarized everything. But it told this whole story, and I know we've kind of moved on, but I want to go back to it because I want to finish what I was saying about that because we have the drums coming in and all of that, but then you have this gentle, almost fragile part plays, and it manages to somehow sound both sad and determined at the same time. Like it's stirring, and
various
there's a
emotions
of inspiration, but also potential like futility of the very act of rebellion.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely love that, the entire piece, but that bit as well. And it reminded me of I go back to the Mega Drive, Death Adder's theme from Golden Axe, the last level in Golden Axe, and it has that sense of, just a kind of desperation and an enormity to the task.
But there's a little bit of hope in there.
Also a bit of hope as well, and I just absolutely loved the music. That music and piece of music in particular.
Well, I'd said like opening music is epic. Is what I wrote. Like the first thing I wrote in my notes.
Film music I've ever heard.
Yeah. I guess kind of thing like you just listen to that, like you just put it on and listen.
Yeah,
to it,
like we said about Batman last week.
Yeah. That you listen to the soundtrack to Batman, but not you might necessarily play the soundtrack for Dark Knight. It works in the film, but
Terminator definitely.
Yeah. It's funny that I picked that just the first two examples I put out were just the two bits you didn't like, the exact two bits you didn't like. But just like I was talking about kind of frenetic nature of the music, another scene then I thought that just worked in the film. We might necessarily listen to it in isolation outside of the film, but did you know the scene where he kills Ginger and he kills her boyfriend and then he shoots her and she's kind of crawling and it's just kind of like it's kind of like this harsh kind of how do you describe it? It's like it was really, she's like crawling and then it's like this kind of I don't know, this kind of was kind of harsh and it had this kind of slow effect to it, kind of like, and I thought again it kind of matched the situation to what was happening. Like he was kind of descending upon her slowly, like a predator.
I mean like the score like matched emotions. I mean I would say basically perfectly, except for the two bits that you absolutely love.
It's like wrenching. That's the word I was looking for.
Okay,
it was kind of just wrenching, drawn out, kind of an effect.
No. And it perfectly,
you remember that scene? When she's
of course. It perfectly evoked.
And it was pure horror.
The panic she was in, and the struggle she was going through.
Like that was a pure horror scene.
Well, one thing I thought was interesting was like I'm jumping ahead now to the very end.
Yeah, we kind of go back. I think we kind of do it that way anyway.
The very end of the film. So after the second fake out death, the jump scare where like he,
and they've blown him.
He's after he's blown up.
And just the torso and the head.
And it has like this, like these like classic strings come in, and it sounds like Psycho. It reminds me
when she's chasing her.
Just immediately when he has a jump scare and like she starts like, oh my god, and she starts going away, and he's crawling along after her. And there is a moment, maybe only about 5 or 10 seconds, where it's like proper Psycho strings, and then it fades down, and the electronic music comes back up. And it was a good choice because if it was gone too long, it would have taken you out of it. But
that's the moment where just when he springs up.
Yes,
and
the
initial,
And I thought it was interesting that he would go back to kind of a traditional kind of film score sound for that moment, that jump scare moment.
I heard a little so after that bit when he's chasing her through the little kind of compartment thing, whatever it was. I heard like a little bit of Jaws in there almost. It was like kind of that
I didn't notice that now.
I could kind of just a little bit of Jaws I could hear in there as well.
Yeah.
And it had that kind of feel, just closing in on her, and again just pure horror, I know I keep mentioning that, but to me Terminator the first one is a horror film.
I do think I think people watch Terminator 2 and forget Terminator 1 and assume that
They're both.
Terminator 2 is what all the films are like, and like T2 is the classic, and then Terminator 1 is basically Terminator, a prequel to Terminator. It's kind of almost an afterthought at times. People assume that, but anyway, we'll get there. Let's jump on to Robocop's score.
Oh, there's one last thing. Sorry, I just wanted to throw in was just another bit. Just I thought was very creepy again. So do you know when after when he's going in to get the truck, when he knocks your man out and he kind of he's kind of limping to the truck to get in. You remember that scene?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's this kind of gong effect, like because their truck is turned over and she's looking out and looking at him, and he's slowly walking to the truck, and it's kind of like it's a kind of gong effect. I don't know. It was really creepy. And then when he gets into the truck, then music starts to kick in, starts to get a little faster, a little faster, a little faster. She's trying to pull Reese out of the truck to get out of the way. Again, I just thought that was a really cool effect in that scene. Again, for building tension. Just another example. That bit kind of stood out to me.
He utilized a lot of different techniques, and there was a lot of unique kind of moments where different pieces were used. I thought overall it was fantastic.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was like the signature score was, as we said, epic, and then I thought all the music that accompanied the film thereafter just mirrored perfectly what was happening and helped enhance the story.
Yeah. Okay, and jumping on to Robocop, composed by Basil Polyjuris. I mean, I don't know. That's my best guess at the pronunciation of that name, but I mean,
I wouldn't know that any better, so
I could be way off. But he composed a score. I'll be honest, as I said earlier, I haven't watched these films properly ever, really. I mean, I watched them as children, and I watched as just the one child. I watched them as a child, and I've seen bits, through osmosis over the years, clips and stuff like that, references. But sitting down and watching it, in my head, I always had the score be like synthesizers, kind of traditional sci-fi, like Terminator. I was expecting, even though I know.
But you were familiar with the
I know the theme, obviously.
Score,
quite well.
Score,
his theme, Robocop's theme. But it did surprise me at how truly traditional it was. It is a proper orchestral score.
Yeah.
Just classical music. And really well composed. It just kind of surprised me. And going back to that point I made earlier about the Holy Grail, because Robocop, I think what also surprised me, I kind of learned this a little bit over the years from discussions with you and others. Mm-hmm. Because when I used to write it off as a kind of a mindless action film.
Yeah. Like its sequels.
But it's a parody. I mean, I would say that Robocop is, I would say, an action comedy.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think the traditional score does for here what the score for the Holy Grail did as well. It has this classical, serious score bouncing off of this crazy visuals that are going on. There's like B-movie violence. Kind of what was the video nasties kind of element to it.
Yeah.
But then it has this beautiful traditional score
as a contrast,
accompanying it. I think they definitely did that on purpose, as they do in many ways, to symbolize.
There was one bit, I think, that and again I think it was deliberate, that kind of had this kind of like a cartoony effect. It was the music they used for Ed 209. Oh, he's about to battle him. And because Ed 209 himself looks kind of cartoony and kind of clumsy and fumbly, kind of, that's the whole point. And I think the music for him kind of matched that, But again, I think that was a deliberate choice. But I think aside from that, as you said, I think it was just music that just sounded really, well
but you know what again, it reminds me of when we were talking about Dark Knight last week, and it is what I would say functional.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it does what a score is designed to do. It accompanies the film and it follows the beats and it raises the tension when it's supposed to raise the tension, and it emphasizes the emotion when it's when it's an emotional scene, and etc. It does what a score is supposed to do. But when I went back and listened to it again after the film, it actually sounded better separate from the film.
Like the signature score, like.
No, but I mean, even leaving that out, because obviously, we'll get to that in a second. But even like just some of the pieces, just in it, about going around the city or whatever. If you played that for me, I would never guess it was Robocop. But I really enjoyed it. But in the act of watching the film, it was functional. It didn't stand out to me at all. Like, it did its job. But Robocop's theme, although I think it's hilarious that, again, on Spotify, his theme is listed as Drive Montage. That's the name of the track.
I think it's because...
it's when he's going through his...
Yeah, his first mission.
Yeah. I understand that. It's just a hilarious name for his theme. But what a theme it is. It's triumphant,
upbeat, positive,
forward.
Kind of,
It kind of sums up as like a hero doing hero stuff.
Rising up against kind of the scumbags that are in the city.
Just so triumphant, just so just charging on, into the battle, like the hero. It was just beautiful. It was really, really again, I mean, this is the battle of the phenomenal themes, like Terminator versus Robocop.
No, because there are two themes that like I was actually listening to them again recently, just to kind of have them fresh in my mind, and like I was playing GTA and like I was listening to both of them, and they both work. Just to you're just driving around, But you're
for different
right.
reasons.
Yeah, completely.
One is about the hero doing his thing, and the other is about this desperate struggle for survival against an unstoppable force.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to vote. Are you ready to vote? Or do you want anything else to say about Robocop?
I actually just kind of touch on. Actually, this could be reaching now, but just you were talking about the contrast between, say, it's a very violent film, but also then it has deliberate humor thrown in, and you were saying then how they had this like classical scored in like up against it, like almost like a contrast.
Yeah.
Like maybe again this could be reaching, it's coming to my head now, but maybe could you say that's like represents like how Robocop is constructed, like it's this human bits of him and then the machine kind of again I could be reaching, it just came into my head like literally just now. I didn't think of it when we watched it, but just when you said that, maybe that was
like a mishmash.
Well, yeah, because the way he is kind of reconstructed, like
maybe I think that maybe
could be reaching.
I think it's a bit of a reach. I do,
but I just threw it out there.
Only I may reach.
But no, just the one last bit on the music. There's the scene when he goes back to his old house. It's kind of like a haunting score there because his memories are coming back to him and like his family.
It's a great scene.
That's a great scene, and like the music in that scene. It was really cool as well. That'd be up there as well. Like after the signature score, that'd be one of the high points. I think of the music.
I do wonder if I watched it again, would I notice the score more? I think I would. But I can only comment on the viewing we had, and for me, I think it's again obvious where I'm going. I vote for the Terminator. Brad Fidel. Friedel,
whatever you want to call it, whatever he wants to call himself.
You wrote a phenomenal score. Well done, son.
I'm gonna go with Terminator as well. Robocop, as you said, there's some fantastic pieces of music in it, but I think the Terminator, as a score, does more for its story. So I think for that, one
of the most iconic soundtracks I've ever heard.
Definitely up there. So I guess we're both going with Terminator then. So that's
2 for Terminator.
2 for Terminator.
Okay, so next round is action and special effects. So we lumped 2 in together because special effects is so integral to both films, and they go hand in hand with a lot of the action.
Yeah.
But also both of the, if we say lead characters, both of the robotic cyborg machines utilize a lot of special effects. So I think it would be a nonsense not to discuss it. So
Do you want to?
okay, So the Terminator, so the opening scene is again, like I was saying earlier with the music, it establishes everything, and so does this. So does the visuals and the music together just perfectly illustrate kind of what's going on, what has happened. Obviously the scroll, the exposition there, holds our hand through some of it, but it sets a tone straight away. And like the fact that like a lot of that's basically everything on that is a miniature, like just small. We watched a documentary on it, but the small,
that was
tiny little machines, like the layering they use, the smoke, every trick in the toolbook to pull it off, and obviously we were dealing with practical effects at the time. Like when you have the humans running in the foreground, it's obvious that they're not there, but is it so obvious that it takes you out of the scene? No.
Yeah.
Is it something that meant, I'm like, this is clearly a guy running on a set? No.
But you know what? I think that in itself worked because it's supposed to be kind of just completely different world that they're in now. And I think that kind of, in a way, kind of added to it. You know what I mean?
You're reaching again.
No, but it's like in the scene.
Do you think it was good that it was clear that?
No, I was talking about the bit you were saying in the foreground where you can see it.
Yeah, but you can.
If you really look, you can tell that they're not really there. But it's like in the scene where when he's chasing them into the factory near the end.
Yeah,
it's just a skeleton, and there's one point where you can tell it's stop motion, but it actually makes it seem creepier in a weird way.
I don't agree.
Yeah,
I mean that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's all about opinions. But
I for me, we make films ourselves, or at least we try to.
Yeah.
And for me, hiding the seams is really important.
Mm-hmm.
I think James Cameron would agree with me that, like, if you know straight away when they're transitioning from a practical skeleton to a stop motion skeleton, that they wouldn't be happy about that. But I think what I was saying is that that's inevitable when you're dealing with the technology they had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But even still, there are elements of it that really, really hold up. And I think, and I've said this for a long time, now, this is phenomenal practical effects in this film. We'll go into later on in more detail about some of the other scenes. But overall, this film has phenomenal practical effects. But even in films that have terrible practical effects, I used to always say is that films that have terrible practical effects is still way better than films that have average CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Because average CGI stands out way more than poor practical effects. And the big thing is because of the lighting, because they're really there in the room.
Yeah.
So
you're seeing a real thing there.
Yeah, it's a real thing that
like
exists, and you're not doubting it existing. But when you see a polished person acting, in an inhuman manner, it takes you out of it straight away.
Mm-hmm.
So I love seeing practical special effects on display, and this is an example of it. Some of it at its best.
I think the scene we should touch on, talking about the practical effects, is when he's dissecting himself. And that scene was like...
Yeah, no, I mean, the detail...
The eye, taking the eye out, and
even though there is, like, the arm is fantastic. Yeah. I love the bit where he opens it up and he's
hearing the scrunch,
he's pulling one of the gears or
to see
back, and his finger moves in unison.
There's detail there.
I love that little touch there, and then taking out the eye is quite disgusting, but it works so well. And I know there's the bit with the kind of puppet face, and it's clearly not Arnold's face, but the close up of the eye underneath his flesh moving,
and you see it moving. Yes,
it's just so cool. I mean, it looks beautiful. It was beautifully done. And
you see it actually again, Joe, when at the end when just because you're talking about the eye, when she crushes him at the very end, and you see the little eye at the very end just fade out.
Oh yeah.
Again, it's a nice little detail, but it just looks really. It was just really cool kind of way.
Yeah. we're kind of jumping around, but we'll go back a little bit just to some of the action, and we can.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
We can hit on special effects again. As we go on, but So what were we? So the
I've four. There's four specific parts for me. With the action. So the first one is in the tech noir scene. So when Terminator comes in, and he hears the message from Sarah. She's ringing Ginger and Matt to come collect her. There's some guy following her, and he's like slowly walking in, and she drops a drink or something off the table, and just as he's walking, the song that's playing kind of slows and swells, and the scene kind of slows down as well, and just as he looks towards where she's sitting, she kind of bends down to pick up a drink, and he just misses her, and then just as she gets back up, she sees Reese at the bar right across from her, and it just built that tension. It was one of my favorite moments, because the way the music swells, the scene just slows, and then obviously he turns back around, and because I know Reese mentions it later, like the fact that he had to wait that long, it just added more tension, and then obviously when he shoot 5 rounds or whatever it is into him, and then she just sees him slowly get back up. It just kind of indicated to her, what you're actually dealing with here. This thing is trying to get you.
And I think an important thing to remember, when you're dealing with iconic films like this, we all know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is. We all know his legacy in Hollywood, and we all know what Terminator became afterwards in the franchise and all of that. But at this point, he is what? He's a bodybuilder, and he's Conan. That's it.
Yeah.
James Cameron is an unknown.
There's a funny story. I don't know if you know this, but so originally they wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger to play Kyle Reese, and James Cameron was like, I don't want him to be Kyle Reese. So they were going to have a meeting, and he was going to try and find a reason to have to basically pick not a physical fight, but pick an argument with Arnold, so he'd have to drop him out of the film or something along those lines. But when they were talking, Arnold was talking about and the Terminator could do this, and the Terminator could do that, and maybe we could have the Terminator, and they both kind of came to realize that you would be perfect to be the Terminator, So Arnold was delighted to be the Terminator, and James Cameron was delighted that he could cast someone else as
because he would have been a terrible Reese.
Yeah, he would have been.
Oh my god, it would have been a mindless action film. Just if he had been Reese, but no, they made the perfect choice. But what I was saying was just when you're talking about the power of that scene, it's almost impossible. We have to remember the film when it was made. We don't know what Terminator is. We don't know where Arnold Schwarzenegger is. We don't know that he's a cyborg.
Yeah.
He's just a naked man.
Just brute force. That's all we know.
At this point, he lifted the guy off the ground, the punk. And it's always punks. Do you remember in films of this era, it's always punks. I know in T2 it's bikers. Yeah. Bikers get a shot as well. Bikers, or maybe metalers. Bikers, metalers, punks. One of the three. But it's always a punk. So you see him lifting. So he has superhuman strength. But we've seen.
Because the dissection scene hasn't happened yet.
No. So that's something that I kind of remembered about 3/4 way through. I was like, wait a minute. The audience who watched this back in the day didn't know that he was a cyborg, or at least, if they didn't see the trailers or maybe the poster, I don't know. But people going in may not know that he's a cyborg, and because
the thing is, you don't even know. Again, you could say watching the first time, you don't even know, who Kyle Reese is either. He could be a bag of fire. They set him up like a stalker, kind of, that's following her at one point.
And again, it's difficult. It's very difficult to separate yourself, because obviously I know Kyle Reese is the hero or one of the heroes of the film. And it's hard for me to go, I wonder if he... when I clearly know that he's not. So it is a detriment to it. It's one of the cases of, it's a victim of its own success. But that said, it didn't take me out at all. I still, that scene was great. I really enjoyed that scene. One thing I really liked as a good kind of dichotomy between Reese and...
Sarah?
The T-800. Although... in the film, I don't think T-800 is ever mentioned once. He's listed as Cyberdyne. What was it? I have written
he gives the official like model number of it. I think at 1.0.
But he doesn't say T-800. He says Cyberdyne System Model 101.
Okay,
that's what he says.
Yeah,
he does not say T-800. I think T-800
comes be the second one when that first comes up.
Yeah, I always assumed it was established in this. But
what's his name? I can't remember his real name, but he did the liquefied version in the second one.
Yeah.
So that's like an updated version, like a better version.
Yeah,
T1000.
T1000. Yeah. But I don't. I mean, I could be wrong, but I was listening for it and I did not hear it mentioned once. But let's just use T800 as its shorter. But what I loved about was that like Reese is panicky in his movements. He's running, he's like struggling. He's frantic. Well, the T800 is smooth,
methodical.
Yeah, and there's
even his eye movements.
No emotion. There's no emotion in his limbs. Everything is just one purpose, one thought: kill, terminate. For want of a better word.
Just go back to the action stuff. For Midnight Theatre, when they leave the car park, that chase scene. When they're going at pace and she's like, race, and you see there's a camera from inside the windshield and the wall is like a dead end.
Yeah.
You see how fast that car is going. It's like she doesn't stop, they're dead.
Oh, yeah. But even before that bit, in that same scene, when the camera inside their car and we see the shot from just behind Reese shooting back and forth with the shotguns. Such a fantastically shot
and you see the eye shot because later his eyes, you see it in the distance. The eye is kind of
it was filmed so well, so well. It really felt the tension and the mounting kind of adrenaline of that scene.
Then we have to talk about the police. The shoot, like that's just pure horror. Like the bit after he's shot, like a lot with most of them, and you just like fire, and you just hear people wailing in agony. Like I just listened to that because obviously the Blu-ray is like brilliant quality, and you can just hear people wailing, and it's like just like this the absolute destruction that he has caused.
Yeah,
it's just like that shows you how formidable he is.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. One part of that scene though that I didn't like, I thought, like Reese knocks out the cop guarding him a little too easy. Like, was that guy like 5 minutes away from death already? Like,
I mean, he would have been just like, oh god, and then that would have been it. Like, no, I can believe Reese, even tied up, could beat him up, but a knee to the stomach would need more than that. Like,
I mean, like the guy is out cold.
Yeah. Unless he knew, he'd been trained to know a special area of the abdomen.
Maybe he was formerly a WF referee in one time.
Maybe, yeah.
Fall at the slightest breeze.
Then there's obviously the motel chase scene.
Yeah.
Like when they're in that tunnel and when Reese is throwing those pipe bombs, and you see the explosion, and you just see like he just has avoided it, and you see the bike with the Terminator just coming through that kind of gust of smoke.
Yes. Well, what I really liked about that scene was Reese starts holding it longer and longer. He's letting the fuse run down each one he's throwing, and it's to show that he's getting more and more desperate because he's only got a certain amount of pipe bombs.
Yeah,
and so like each one he's holding it longer. I think that's obviously leads to him getting hurt because he's holding it too long. I know he gets shot, but like you can see like the fuse is going further and further down. Like he's taking more and more of a risk, and getting more and more desperate. Again, it's building the tension, building the emotion, the drama. The film. It is at a reckless pace.
Yeah. It's that frenetic, as I said earlier. Like it just goes at such a pace. And then obviously the scene where when he puts the pipe bomb into the back of the truck, that explosion effect is amazing, isn't it?
That's a miniature.
Yeah, again.
It's not a real truck. And we were talking about the amazing truck flip in The Dark Knight last week. Well, this truck flip, done on a minute, I can't believe it's a miniature, looked absolutely fantastic.
The fact that it blows up from the back as well, and it comes
forward, and it blew up in bits as well. Like, it wasn't just one big bomb.
Yeah,
like, it was a chain of explosions. And,
just so well crafted. And again, the details kind of.
And I know that the shot of Sarah kind of escaping from the blast. Yeah, it's clear she's in front of a green screen or whatever there, But
it's kind of blurred. Like she's in focus, so it's not as obvious.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
But it's one of those classic shots where you're just like, yeah, she's clean out there. But and that is where CGI is excellent, you know. And obviously, I'm not saying CGI isn't useful. It's extremely important in films, but practical effects when you can usually are superior.
There's also like a terrifying moment just before the truck is blown up, where so she's obviously running away, and then she kind of cuts to the left. She goes left, and then you see he kind of follows the Terminator, and you see his eye, because one of his eyes is exposed from obviously earlier, and the way it kind of follows her, the gaze he gives, it's an image. I was like, Jesus, it's terrifying. Like, you know, this is really creepy. You know, because I think with this, it's like it's action, but also it's the horror. Like, I think I was saying to you, like, we could have easily done this against the horror film, you know, and it would have made sense to compare. Like,
Terminator is a horror film.
Yeah, it is.
It's a sci-fi horror film, and one of the classics. But then we go on a little bit further so after the truck explosion, and like you see him get out of the truck, and he falls down and he collapses, and then the melting flesh revealing the endoskeleton is just a fantastic piece of special effects, and the skeleton itself. Now, I don't want to touch on the actual kind of emotion.
Yeah, because that'll be in the character.
We'll go into the characters later.
Yeah.
But just the actual sheer achievement that is that skeleton is. I mean, I couldn't believe how good it looked.
Yeah.
You know.
And what's nice as well is his head kind of turns, and it's like he's looking at her still.
Yeah.
But she probably was, because he actually hadn't.
It's a haunting scene. Yeah. Absolutely haunting. But filmed so well. The special effects are just phenomenal there.
No, the action. It's like the action scenes are fantastic in the film. Like,
really
some
impressed.
of the best.
Like again, one of the documentaries, or maybe it was you who was saying, was that like the producers, you know, expected a B movie for the budget they had,
that was
and
on,
then
like,
it comes back with this like one of the greatest special effects up in that time. I maybe arguably one of the greatest special effects displays in film. And it's like, they're like, where did this come from? What's going on here?
And like, you know, again, we'd mentioned earlier, like, about like the second one is a very entertaining film, but that was on like a way bigger budget. But like, I'm just gonna say it. I know a lot of people think the second one is the best in the franchise, but it pales in comparison. I don't
even think it's close.
It's not even close. The first one is by far the best Terminator film.
I'm not sure. I wonder, is it people watch T2 and then kind of assume the first one's going to be the same, and then they're like disappointed when it's like not a kind of blockbuster action movie? Yeah,
and we'll get into more in the characters, but a lot of people love John Connor in the second one.
What?
Yeah, that's like he's
like the one that was 9 characters.
Like, he works in it, but like he is like
no, he doesn't.
I think when we get to the character section, I'll be able to kind of dwell on that a little more.
Well, look, and even to be honest, it's T2, so
no, just to kind of a point to make more so than like dwelling on it.
But we touched on the area. We just finished off Terminator. We touched on the explosion, this endoskeleton explosion. Where Reese like sacrifices himself. You know, it all works really well. Again, we're from full blown horror territory.
Yeah, that scene in the factory is just horror.
The second fake out jump scare, and then he's crawling after her again, and you just feel desperation. Like, again,
see the hand.
You just like, you know,
stretching out
for the first time. You must be like, my God, like, you know, this is
because the amount of effort they've had to take to just like. To slow him down, like, you know, you're kind of like...
He just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
You're terminated.
It didn't need it. Yeah, it didn't
not
need
for
it.
Me.
It didn't need
not
it.
For me.
I think that the film was better than that.
Yeah,
the film was better than that.
Yeah, it shouldn't have had that.
Yeah. But it's like it's a minor...
Yeah, a minor grievance.
Yeah.
A minor grievance. Let's jump on to Robocop.
Yeah.
So, okay, so Robocop is... I mean,
let's say one thing just before we start. Just about Robocop. This film is violent.
That it is, son. We'll start at 209 glitch scene.
Oh, that's amazing.
I mean, I couldn't believe how funny it was.
Well, what I was glad was because when we were watching it, there's two versions. There's the obviously the theatrical cut and the director's cut, and I was like, because obviously you hadn't seen it in a long time, and I remember just seeing the director's cut, and I was like, please be the director's cut, please be. And I was like, yes. So it goes when the test subject, you know, so when he's getting shot, that's the director's cut. I was like, yes. So it's the longer version.
That's not in. The theatrical cut?
I'm pretty sure that was the director's cut. It was like
no, but like, did they not show him being?
Oh no, they show him being shot, but it's longer. It goes on for much longer.
Yeah, because see, I mean, and again, we'll go into. I don't know where we're going to it, but I mean, it's clear this film is a parody.
Oh yeah, it's deliberately over the top.
It's deliberate a commentary on. I don't know if it's a commentary on film violence or maybe just violence, maybe war violence, because it's very much against the military-industrial complex,
controlling kind of everything.
I mean, you know, it attacking, you know, that part of capitalist society.
Yeah, but you do notice just about, as we were saying, like it's a very violent film, but there's almost always a like a joke or some kind of thing to lighten the mood. So you laugh even after something's really not the only time, except when
for example. That's a glitch. You need to work.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to work that out.
The only one we don't is obviously when Murphy is killed. Like that's not played for laughs at all. It is over the top, but it's not. I mean, he's the main character. Like you're not laughing at him.
We'll get there. We'll get there in a sec. But let's see where we. Yeah. So okay. So let's jump on just before that. So we're almost there. But I want to go into the Clarence. I loved Clarence. Oh my god! Like, and all I can see is Red Foreman. I can't not see Red Foreman.
Red Foreman before he was Red Foreman.
It actually kind of. I mean,
it's like Red Foreman before he had a son. Like, you know, before.
Yeah, I mean, Red. I'd believe it. You know, he mellowed when he found his wife, but Clarence throwing the guy out of the.
Can you fly, Bobby? But even before that,
laughing.
His first line, "You're burned up, money." Like you just start laughing.
But Clarence and his goons then, like when they go later, when Murphy confronts them, and they're like cackling hyenas.
Yeah.
It's so. I mean, it is, and it's quite disgusting. I mean, like
they take pleasure.
They're extremely depraved, and obviously, and you know, you're
like, cause it's a bit. I guess no, that's kind of more in the character. Actually, I don't want to go into Bodyguard too much. It's kind of more in the action.
We'll stick on the action.
Yeah.
So, but but just on a kind of, I think the action's over the top, but so is almost every character is over the top as well. They're all acting over the top. Yeah. Everything's turned up to 11. But Murphy's death is one of the most deathiest deaths I've ever seen. And he still didn't even die.
Yeah.
Like, Clarence had to finish him off. Like, he died 4 times during that death and still survived.
Like, after, okay, fair enough, he blows his hand off. Like, you wouldn't die from that.
But again, that's...
but after that, there's like, 5 of them gunning with these shotguns, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
and obviously, that is the point. You know, the over violence.
Yeah.
I thought it did go so far that it became funny. It kind of reminded me of, like, those Family Guy jokes where, like, they'd say something and then it kind of, you know, like, I don't know if you don't really watch Family Guy, but that classic, Family Guy didn't go great after season 3, but classically it was good. But when he falls and he hurts his knee, and he's like,
I know that.
And he did it for like, you know, 2-3 seconds. It's not really funny. It's kind of funny, but he does it for like 10-15 seconds, and when you stretch it out, it gets funnier. And I think the same is true here. That, like, if that death scene had been 10, maybe 5 seconds shorter, it would have been a lot more moving. But it moved past the moving territory into the parody, and that's when you start kind of almost laughing.
I did think that. I was like, this is going on. Because I just felt that...
You're aware you're watching a movie again.
Yeah. Like,
but purposefully so.
Yeah. Like, I think it was deliberate, but I think maybe just for Murphy's death, maybe... they shouldn't have gone that long with it.
But I think they should. I mean, I think that was the point of it. Like, I think they're purposely...
I think they did purposely do. I just thought just for that... Because, as I said, most of the violence kind of follows with a joke or some kind of funny line or some funny moment.
I think that was the moment. I think by stretching it out so long that that is their little kind of nod and a wink to us.
Yeah.
They're almost breaking the fourth wall by going, yeah, we should have cut. Of course we should have cut. You know we should have cut. I know we should have cut. But I'm not going to cut. I'm going to keep it going so you understand that this isn't a typical action movie. We're saying something here. We've got a message here. We've got a point here. That's the way I read it.
Yeah, maybe. I just think just because it was Murphy and he's the hero, I think for me anyway, I was like, because there are moments that are supposed to be played serious as well. Like, even though it is a parody, there are moments that, like, we see when he goes to his family and that, like that. That's very sad.
But there's nothing in those scenes that's funny.
No, yeah, I know.
Yeah, so you're supposed to take it seriously. But I think this is one example of where anytime there's violence, I don't think you're supposed to take it seriously. I don't think.
Yeah.
But we can disagree.
I just want to touch on just the moment in the scene. So, do you know when Emil is getting the stealing the money off the college boy or something?
Yeah.
And then when he throws the cigarette down and the petrol's kind of leaking, and it engulfs in flames, and you just see Terminator Robocop walking out. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah.
Where it exploded? I just thought that was a cool visual.
It was fantastic.
And then, but the bike, the stunt job done on that, but when the bike is that looked vicious when he hit the road.
It was fantastically filmed. I thought that scene where he's walking out of the petrol station is one of the kind of all-time classic
moments.
Cool guys don't look at explosions shot. But just to kind of go on, let's go on to the little effects a bit. I thought the suit is fantastic.
Yeah,
the special effects in the suit are so good.
Apparently, I would say Paul Weller, the musician, Peter Weller. Apparently, when he was in the suit, though, he was like sweating buckets. Like it was like really.
I can imagine.
Yeah, just exhausting for him. Apparently,
but I'm glad he sucked it up because it looks great.
Oh, it does. Yeah, it's fantastic. And even like so I was confused. So when he takes the helmet off, like was that his real skin and then stuff covered on the side, or was that just like?
That would have been obviously his real face, and then they would have added layers or prosthetics to the side of his face.
I couldn't tell.
They would have extended his head, so his head there is obviously a lot bigger than his head is in real life.
No, but it looked great, but I couldn't tell. I was trying to figure out how did they do that? But
it's like an excellent magic trick.
Yeah,
and like that's none of that CGI. That's all practical. It's stunning. It really is some phenomenal special effects.
And then you've got Ed 209.
But I like it too.
Oh no,
I don't understand.
No.
Is that a thing that people don't like it?
Oh no, not that I know of. I was just saying that I was getting back. Do you remember the point I made about in Terminator, where the bit where you can tell it's stop motion? Joe when he's chasing after him into the factory, and then there's a similar bit in when Ed 209 is going down the steps, I think it is, or something. With Terminator or with Robocop in that battle, it's a similar thing where. I found it kind of almost, because of the stop motion, it made him kind of seem more creepy because he was kind of clunky and clumsy, and I felt like he was like a legitimate threat to Robocop, so it kind of made him more kind of creepy, but I think it worked.
Yeah, you see that same with Terminator.
Same with Terminator, I just thought it was creepy.
I mean,
in a weird way.
Obviously, that's something that the way you're reading it. I don't ever get that kind of view of it.
But no, he did look. I thought he looked good, and I loved the bit where at the end where he with the bazooka blows it up, and then you see the little foot wiggle like. Remember that at the very end?
Almost Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
But I love the bit where he falls down the stairs.
Oh yeah, he can't walk down.
He sounds like a disgruntled rodent.
His feet are too big to go down the steps. That was very good.
And just such a classic example of like the typical kind of crap that these kind of corporations pull, where they'll put millions of development into a machine and not even consider, wait, how is he supposed to move around? How is what if he's facing his stairs? They never thought about that. And a subtle little kind of dig. I thought it was so well done that these are morons. These people, the money, the billions they're throwing around the place, and they don't have to answer to anybody. They don't have to talk, discuss with anybody. Just go and throw their money around. I thought it was a great way of just kind of expressing that.
There was a moment I loved as well. Do you know, like early in the film when he that guy's stealing the money in the shop,
Yeah.
You know, with the safe. Weird place to put a safe, by the way. Under
Well,
the
he
drink.
was hiding it.
Yeah, I know, but if people started buying the cans, like, then eventually it's going to become
Maybe it was like product he knew wouldn't sell. I don't know.
Maybe. But anyway, do you know he clotheslines him, and he goes into like it's like a fridge or something, the glass. He just smashed it, and then just after he does it, he just looks at the owners. He's like, "Thank you for your cooperation. Good night." And you just see on the screen, "I'd buy that for $1." I know it was their feelings, but that was like a perfect moment to throw it in. Like,
it's done very well. What I really liked was again, when the commentary that the movie is making, the reaction to Robocop's violence, because like Robocop is this gunslinger, this kind of classic hero, and he's going along like da 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 da, and now I'm singing the theme, and then but like the scene with the terrorist when he throws him out the window and then he cuts a newsreader and she's smiling. Oh, isn't he lovely?
Robocop's in town and he's not one to be trifled with.
Just the way they just blankly laugh about horrific violence, which obviously is the comment of the point of this film.
The fact that we would probably be doing it ourselves a couple of times as well, watching Robocop.
It's to get us to kind of assess, violence in the real world and how media and the news react to it and promote it, and it's a point well made.
Yeah, I think we should touch on the final showdown in the steel mill, because there's a couple of moments in that.
Well, there's one that stands out to me.
Emil in the toxic waste
scene is like
amazing.
The special effects on that are some of the best special effects.
And you see his finger, there's all this kind of enlarged finger and the goo.
His enlarged finger, that's his bones.
Oh shit! Okay, I thought like some stuff was like morphed or something. Like
his flesh is just dripping off.
Yeah, it was like, and then like you see when he runs into Joe Leon, the dark-haired guy, and he's like,
"Don't touch me!
Don't touch me, man!" It's so over the top.
But it's gruesome. But the quality, of that the effects.
When Boddicker just runs over him and just liquefies, just like.
Just like a man, skin filled with soup.
What's funny is like, because do you know that movie clips things on YouTube, and just that one often comes up as a scene, and I remember like looking at the comments and so many people going like, God, when I was a child that like terrified me, because it's like a horror almost as well, but like it's at the same time you're just like
it's hilarious. But speaking of hilarious, Ernest, do you want to stay on this scene? Do you have any?
Well, I think what was cool was I don't know if you noticed this, but the way like, so Boddicker blows off his right hand, and then when he's like, sayonara, Robocop, and then he gets the thing, it's on his right hand that he does it with, to stab him in the throat. Yeah. I thought that was nice.
The spike he used
thing, it's on the right hand that he uses it. I thought that was nice, kind of like...
What a weird input device for computers, though. A 3-inch metal spike.
Yeah, I know.
Odd, but handy in a fight, I suppose. Like, is everyone going around with like little kind of spikes and sticking them into computers, or like did they install them all over the place just for Robocop? I don't know. But it came in handy in the battle.
But the action was over the top but entertaining and worked in what it was trying to do.
Thoroughly entertaining. It made its point very well. But we have to end on the end. That is, I thought, and I know I think we may approach, we may do a Nightmare on Elm Street at some point.
Yeah.
And there's a famous scene at the end of that.
Yeah.
That is laughably terrible. But this is worse. That is the worst special effects I've ever seen in a film that wasn't made by teenagers. Why were they so long? His arms were like 3 times the length of his arms.
I have no idea.
I hope it was a joke, but I didn't get it. Like, I laughed, but
I know as well that your man, the other guy, so Bob Martin, who created Robocop, his partner, just kind of turns to Robocop and just kind of goes,
the thumbs up. Yeah, I just so funny. But I don't understand. I don't understand why it was so bad. Like, there was no need for it to be that bad. Like, because it was a green screen. So just get an actual man.
Yeah, I don't
why
know.
was it like a
It's
dummy?
strange.
Like, did you just protect the dummy?
Yeah.
I don't understand. It was very strange. But that aside, I thought the special effects and the action
Yeah.
were
Top notch.
were really, really good. So let's vote.
Do you want me to go first this time?
Go for it.
All right. As I said, like, the action was really over the top, but worked for what it did. Really entertaining, very funny. The final battle in the steel mill was really entertaining, and obviously the scene with Dick Jones.
Up until that point, I was like, "What is that character's name?" And I was like, "Well, I'll never forget it again now." After Clarence shouted it 500 times.
But no, I have to give it to Terminator though. I just, for the frenetic, as I said, pace and just the tension and the horror and everything that was in it. So I have to go with Terminator on that one.
I would agree. I go for Terminator as well. I thought that the special effects were probably on a par. I think they were phenomenal in both.
Yeah.
The action took it for me for Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
It was more impactful. I was more involved. Now I understand obviously the aim of Robocop
Tone is a bit different.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It's not a horror film. It's not supposed to grip you. It's supposed to maybe repulse you and then make you wonder, and then maybe laugh and then go, why am I laughing? And what am I watching? And why am I cheering at this when I'm watching a different film, but I'm laughing at it here? And I understand that's the point of it. But that said, I can only comment on film versus film, and I was enthralled more by the action in Terminator than I was in Robocop. So I vote Terminator.
So it's 2 more points.
Yeah, so it's basically over. Terminator's already won now. But maybe Robocop...
So we'll just skip the characters.
Yeah. Who cares about characters? Irrelevant. But maybe Robocop can pull it back. Who knows?
I kind of feel bad because I think...
Well, numbers no, he can't. But
I feel bad just in the sense that I think there's probably films that we're going to review in the future that Robocop would have trounced. And I feel like Robocop will be a film that would have been a worthy winner, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For what we're going to do. So I think we should clarify, like, we both really enjoyed Robocop. Like,
but I think it's...
But it could get a bit of, what do they call it in football when you get a goal back? Restore a bit of pride or something, you know?
Yeah.
Consolation goal.
Yeah, but like losing a Terminator... many films will lose a Terminator.
That's true. That's true.
You know, I don't think it's a...
Yeah.
It's a mark on the film.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the nature of the beast. So characters. Okay, I don't know which characters, even who you have written down, or what order you want to do it.
So we're doing...
You start with one, and I'll just...
So we're doing Terminator first.
Terminator first, yeah. So who do you want to talk about?
I'll go with Reese, because I think he's the one that I kind of, I guess, have the most points to address, I think. I'll just say one thing just quickly, we won't dwell on Terminator 2, but I think Reese is one of the big reasons that Terminator is there's many reasons, but one of the big reasons, certainly from a character standpoint, why the original Terminator is a lot better than the second one. Because I think you look at Kyle Reese and look at John Connor, and there's no comparison between them as characters.
No, there isn't.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, okay. So I'll just start even in the beginning. So when he comes, whatever the electricity thing, whatever it is that he comes through, that was like a portal kind of whatever.
Yeah, the time travel
thing. Yes,
yeah,
sorry. You see, like, he's kind of cowering. He's kind of like he's in pain.
Yeah.
Just in contrast to how Terminator's so like this marble model, kind of stone, kind of.
Yeah, he's perfect sculpture of a man.
Yes, he's like this kind of like he's not. He's kind of a slim, slender kind of build, wiry, but he's kind of just he's not like a specimen like the Terminator is. But the fact that he's in pain, you just kind of instantly that kind of contrast, and then the fact that this is just in the intro. It's so you first see him, he immediately gets up and gets to action. It just kind of sums up. That's what his life has been all the time. It's just that the world he lives in is just okay. My mission. Find Sarah Connor, so he goes, he gets away from the cops, gets some clothes, and then straight to the phone book, looks up her name, so he's instantly onto it.
Yeah, no, I agree entirely. Your point, I noticed that as well, and obviously it was intended. The juxtaposition of Arnold, or T-800, or what we're going to call him, lands in this graceful pose, and as I said, the specimen, this absolute beast of a human being. Almost unhuman. He's so perfectly sculpted. And he ascends from this mist and goes out and looks over the city. And then Reese smacks down on his side, groaning in pain. He's fragile. And it's clear, even though, again, at this point, we don't know that Reese is human and the T-800 isn't. But I think it's a symbol of the fallibility of the human's endeavor, the humans in general. Yeah. Like he is struggling. He's up against the odds.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say.
He has a task ahead of him that is almost insurmountable.
And that's another reason why I think, again, just briefly on Terminator 2, they have a Terminator with them as well to protect them. Like
it's not a competition.
No, I know.
It is. The whole thing's a competition. No.
I'm just saying.
We've already clarified. We prefer Terminator.
It's just another example. I'm saying that because Reese, it's just him, like a mortal, up against this unstoppable machine. Just saying, where them, at least they had, It's another reason why I enjoy the first one more, because of that kind of.
Yeah, but I don't want to go.
Anyway, I'll shut about the second one now. Sorry.
But I will just briefly. The T-1000 raises the odds again, so they still have that against them. But anyway, let's leave it there. So I really liked, I really liked, but I thought it added to him that he was just kind of suffering from PTSD, getting flashbacks, which is funny, flashbacks to the future.
Yeah, I was actually talking about that, and I was like, okay, I guess it already happened for him, so it's a flashback, even though it's So I was going to say flash forward.
He's clearly like a broken kind of man that has been, molded by the world that he lives in.
Even like just you're saying about in the flashback, there's a point early in the film before he meets Sarah where he bolts up. Yeah, he's always on. He's you can't relax.
That was a PTSD.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
like the man is visibly in mental anguish.
And even then, like when he finally rescues her from in the club, and like the first thing he does is say, "I'm Reese," and then gives his full rank. Position. It's so regimental. That's the way it is for him. Always has been. It's kind of, and even when he's given the model for the Terminator, again, it's the full model make. It's all so structured.
That's a good point actually, because it reminds me of something that I had for later on, and we're jumping ahead now to later. But when they're kind of under the bridge after escaping from the police station, and he seems kind of confused at her need for small talk.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
I'd say it's like because. There is no small talk.
Yeah, there is none. Yeah,
you barely have time to breathe. It's either shut up and be quiet, or it's run out and fight.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I'd literally written down there's a bit where she's kind of like talk to me, and he's kind of like, about what? And like it's like he's almost like an innocent child in a way. He doesn't know what like why do we need to talk right now? We're resting. We just rest
and we don't. So it was quite a telling moment about him, and you really see the vulnerability of him.
And there's another bit like, so do you know when he's being interrogated by the psychologist, and you see he's given all the information, and then he just kind of snaps, and he's like, where is she? And you can tell he's terrified as well, because he realizes the ramifications of what happens if she is killed. He knows what's coming in, so he's terrified in that moment. And you see another kind of side to him, like, even though he says later how, like, pain can just be disconnected, because of what he's had to live through. But at the same time,
but then he realizes also says cyborgs don't feel pain.
I do. Yeah.
So again, he's human in that he's fallible in that as well. But I agree with you entirely in the scene with the video in the police station. Like that moment, and you can appreciate why Sarah would go, Jesus, he probably is a bit mad.
Yeah.
But that is the moment where he at that moment believes that the entire fate of humanity is ended.
Yeah.
Because he is lost.
Yeah, because
he take her out of the prison, Sarah will die, and humanity is doomed.
And I think you're dead right, because he said like he's like up against the odds, and then like the fact that everyone is kind of just saying like he's just a rambling madman. No one's listening to him. Everyone thinks he's just crazy. It kind of adds even more, as you said, to that whole thing of like of what he thinks this is it. It's over, like, because just the task at hand. It just makes it all the more difficult. And then even the fact in that, like, he's trying to explain to her really quickly what's going on while they're trying to keep ahead of the Terminator. Like, every aspect of his mission, every step of it is so difficult for him, Like,
I mean, like, I'd say I mean, I don't know. Because it's. What I was about to say was, I'd say John didn't know if he would succeed because it's almost an impossible task. But then, of course, he does because he is John's father, and John knows he's his father, so John knows he does succeed. So that whole thing. I will go for a second into something that I discussed before, completely unrelated to, not unrelated to the film. It's the film, but how the time travel loop, how John sends, like, at some point, Kyle Reese wasn't John's father. Because, Sarah has a baby.
I'm thinking about this now.
Yes, Sarah meets a random man, right? A man that's not involved in this film.
Yes.
Has a baby, who's John Connor, grows up, becomes the leader of the Revolutionary War, and then he sends back Kyle Reese to protect his mother from being killed. And then she sleeps with him and creates a new John.
So it's an alternate John, basically.
Yeah, because that first John was a different man, and the second John that's born then creates that loop where he sends Kyle Reese back to father him to go forward, and then so it's actually at some point there must have been a different John who was the leader of. It'd be a cool movie to make if you went into and created like.
I don't know what they did with that new one. The one with.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
The last one I saw was Terminator 3.
Yeah.
And that's probably the last one I ever will see, I'd say.
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, it's interesting.
With time travel always has these kind of issues, but I think you can exploit them and have fun with them.
I always wondered, did John know it was his father? But Kyle says he volunteered. It wasn't that he
established that.
Yeah,
because I wondered that as well, and I have that written in my notes. I was like, does John know?
Oh, at the end when she...
Because she says, I wonder if I'll tell him that if he's father, I will, because he deserves that at least.
Yeah.
And that's obviously why John gives her the picture of her.
Yes.
Because John knows you are going to fall in love with this woman and father me. So he gives him that, I'd say, as just kind of... So he does it, obviously... Again, we were talking earlier about he's living a life of desperation, as they all are. That photo of her is probably his only release. Like, I did think it was odd that he'd fallen in love with a woman he'd never met or spoken to. But in a world where you don't have an escape, I can see where it could almost...
It was like a dream for him, something like a different world. He probably dreamt about being... Because obviously...
reach for.
Yeah, so being in that world, but all this chaos and just living in agony, basically, just constantly battling. That was like a fragment of something colourful. Because it's interesting, there's actually a deleted scene that I think they should have kept in where he actually breaks down. They're it's after they've been under that bridge and they see all the kind of green grass and the trees, and he kind of seen all this is gone. He's basically never seen this, and all of it's going to be gone. It would have been a great scene.
Surprisingly, they took it out.
I think that photo of her, that's to him symbolises the goodness of what was before all these machines came and destroyed their world. So I'm just saying that's why I feel like it. To me, it makes sense that he would fall in love with her because she is represents to him a bit of hope from that time.
It reminds me. I'm just thinking of it now. But that photo of her for him, is kind of like Andy Dufresne in The Hole in Shawshank Redemption when he has the classical music playing in his head. It's the one thing that's probably keeping him sane.
And you see him look at it in one of when she's saying, "Tell me about the future."
But doesn't he burn it?
He doesn't. It burns.
It burns.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if he burned it or.
What also I like is when he tells her he loves her, and he says when he saw the photo, he memorized every kind of detail of it, and then he says, you always looked a little sad. I always wondered what you were thinking in that moment. And then you find out at the end she's actually thinking of him. Which I thought was really cool. It was him that she was thinking of.
That photo was set up, and you're like, what's the story there? And it pays off so well at the end. It really does. Yeah. But we'll get into that more probably with Sarah.
I will say as well, again in this podcast, when we segue into Sarah, but I think as well, so Michael Biehn and Linda Hamilton, I thought had fantastic chemistry as well, especially given the fact that it's really over halfway through the film before they can really mesh as a pair, because initially it's her just being terrified and then him just trying to explain what's going on, and she's being resisting him, kind of not believing him. So it's over halfway through the film before they really start to kind of bond, and you really kind of
and she starts bonding, and then she's separated again, and she starts distrusting him again, and then she starts trusting him a second time. So there is that kind of
I just thought that they did a really good job on that because they only had like maybe the last 40 minutes to really kind of hit home that. Yeah. And that was a very obvious, because it's kind of a love story as well, to be honest.
It is, it is, yeah. It's a tragic love story. So Sarah, she's down on her luck, terrible job, date cancels on her, unstoppable cyborg wants to kill her, the usual. But I love, I really enjoyed the scene where she's kind of getting ready and stuff. It just kind of sets up her life. The kid dumping the ice cream into her apron. You're just like,
way to go, kid. I gotta give you the tip. Hear that voice in the back. But yeah, no, it sets her up as a regular girl, a standard job. I like that.
No. I mean, and obviously, it's just a quick thing, but it really liked her.
Yeah, you do. It makes her, you're instantly on her side, kind of.
Yeah.
Relatable. Yeah, exactly. And even like when she's talking to the iguana. Kind of Bugsy still loves me, and you're like, she has no idea like what is going to await her in the next hour or two, how her life is going to be changed. It's like that innocence. You're so innocent at the beginning,
and and then that's clear set up that you wanted, and even the music when she's coming out, like
contrast to what happened the night before,
and she's gentle and beautiful, and then what she will end up being at the end of the film.
I mean, like if you think about it, like she's going out to go to watch a film or whatever, and then she's almost been shot to death and then told that like the world, it just becomes horrendous and your son is the only hope. I mean, imagine all that being dropped in your lap in an hour.
Any one of those things would drive you insane.
Yeah, and like just all that dropping, I mean, it's just to process all of that, like. But I guess that's why like she gets angry later. She's like, Joe, I didn't ask for any of this. Joey's saying like you're a legend, like you're the legend. Joe, to meet you is amazing. And she's saying, I don't want any. I didn't ask for this. And I think you would kind of be
like, from Cochrane in First Contact.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like. You would like. I don't want all this pressure. Like I didn't ask to have all this put on me. Like so I think
Star Trek First Contact for any of you non-Trekkies out there. But just jump back a little bit, just to I really love that scene, and we talked about it earlier in the action scene. But when she hears the first Sarah, it builds so well, and she's like, "Oh, that's kind of weird."
Yeah,
kind of laughing about it slightly. Yeah. But then the second one, you're like, oh my god!
And then she checks the phone book and sees she's the only other one in that area.
But also they were killed in the order they're written in the phone book as well.
Yeah. You would be legitimately terrified.
Great little details like that really add to it. It's a really well written script. Mm-hmm. Like we were talking about earlier about like kind of the photo appears and then it's resolved later. Like there's everything that everything is there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
There's no throwaway pieces, there's no throwaway scenes, and I imagine that scene with you're talking about earlier about the race Kyle Reese in the grass that was removed. Maybe it was removed for pacing,
possibly
because it is a frantic film. But I'm going to Google that when I go after this because I want to see it. But just the fear that she displays, kind of, I thought she was really good there.
But she's as well. She's almost like, in a way. And I'm going to get to this with Robocop as well a little bit, but she's, because the way she's built, like Joey says, like you're this legend, you're so like respect, like how they look up to her, like it's almost like she's like a religious, like a prophet or something. Like what is to come, what she will, her and John obviously, and it kind of, there's kind of that air to it as well a little bit,
And obviously, and the film sets this up, but also she's thinking the same thing, that how am I that? I couldn't be further from what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that I will ever be that. But as you see through the film, she becomes that.
What's also funny but interesting, is that like, so Reese like obviously didn't choose to be a soldier. He just had to be one, but he did choose to come back to protect her, So I think that's why I think it makes natural that she would kind of fall in love with him as well, because she gets an indication, seeing what a Terminator can do, and his stories from him about the future and what happened. So it's like, he's like her beacon of hope, in terms of protecting her, but then she's also his, and she kind of understands that, like to him, she's his little bit of fragment of hope, like we were saying earlier about why he goes back, like she represents something positive to him,
but I at first I did think that her falling for him, again, I thought him falling for her was a bit odd, but then they paid off with the picture and everything, and the realization, and the fact that she was kind of his everything throughout the future. But then I was like, is it a bit odd that she fell for him? Like, she only knows him like a day, but then, like, when your entire world falls apart and the one pillar that's keeping you up, keeping you standing, is there, and they've expressed their love for you, and you're in this desperate situation, I can see how your emotions would kind of lose general kind of control, and you would do something erratic or different, or allow yourself to be more open and less cautious. Throw caution to the wind, and maybe fall in love with somebody, some crazed guy from the future you've just met. So I was a little bit like, is it kind of unrealistic? But given the circumstances, I wouldn't say it's impossible.
And you kind of didn't see, now you see a little bit of her leadership qualities start to come into play near the end as well, like when she's trying to bring him up when he's after being shot.
Yeah, that's when you start seeing
gradually.
She knocks over for T-800 first, knocks him off the bike.
Yeah,
she's driving.
She does, yeah, and I like that. It was like mano a mano.
Yeah,
because she's
challenging him.
She has to know.
She wins in that battle, that first battle.
She does, yeah.
She then saves Reese, drags him out.
And she doesn't abandon him. She won't leave him to die, and also it's because before that, say when he leaves to get supplies, he says he's about to leave, and then he comes back and gives her the gun, and he said, "Just keep this." And then she kind of looks at it for a minute before she actually picks it up. So it's like one of this, again, the kind of gradual progression of her becoming the woman she's destined to become. Like,
and in that, or just after that scene as well, I really liked was kind of had a moment of thought where it's like, Reese starts teaching her explosives. So he's using them for today, but he's also, what he's doing is he's teaching her for the future,
prepping her.
He's starting her training, which she will use to teach John, which John will use to teach Reese, which is funny, another loop that he is training himself almost. Reese is, by training the trainer of his trainer. So I really I like that moment, just the kind of that the concept of what's going on.
It's kind of you said it's a tragic film as well, because it's like just before the Terminator arrives, at the motel, she kind of jokes him, kind of says, "Think fast," and it's the one time in the film you actually see Reese kind of smile, and kind of seem relaxed, just that one moment, and then they have to go back, again, he's on them, and it's like,
Yeah, and the fact that they have that one moment in the middle of all of it is kind of, it really adds to the loss of Reese.
Yeah,
at the end.
Definitely, yeah.
Because that she's fallen in love with this man, he's been in love with her entire life. They've only had one moment together of actual love and softness and embrace and emotion, and where they could, whatever, be themselves or whatever. And then I would say ripped away. Reese gives it up for her and for humanity.
Yeah.
But you feel her loss. But you also feel her strength as well.
Yeah, and in a way, like Reese is my favorite character, but I think it made it more powerful that he did die, and I think the fact that she had to. The final blow to the Terminator, it was up to her to finally destroy it.
Yes,
I think that was the right way to go.
That was important.
Yeah.
That was very important for her progression and for the film, obviously, as a narrative. But and it's not easy to go from gentle, beautiful young girl to badass, leader of and trainer of the leader of the human race.
And speaking of tough, again, I've given these little facts, but apparently she was it sprained or broke her ankle at some point during production, and still and still went for it, she was really tough on set, it was a physical production.
I wouldn't have guessed that at all.
No,
there's not a single scene. And obviously, I'm sure they hid certain things.
And maybe there might be moments where they could, because they got injured later on with crashes and that, so it would make sense. But
no point.
I didn't notice it particularly.
Yeah, but I thought she's a really great character, and totally believable to start that journey into the next film.
Guess Mr. Arnold.
So T-800, aka Cyberdyne System Model 101, or Arnold. I thought so we've already kind of covered this already, but I love his introduction.
Yeah,
he just
commanding
raw power.
I love as well the shot of him looking up upon the city. I always love those kind of shots. It's like kind of like a foreboding thing of like what is to come.
No, you won't.
Yeah, that too. But I just loved that shot. It's him surveying kind of.
Yeah,
like,
no,
you know.
it's a great shot. It's a great shot. I mean, it's weird. I mean, but his lack of emotion is emotional.
Yeah.
You know, like the fact that he's not reacting to anything, either pain or when a gun is pointed at him, he's not reacting with fear. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like that is what you're facing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's weird that a character should be so blank, but it works completely. I mean, and it raises the tension and it raises the horror of the whole situation.
Even like how it escalates so quickly with the punks at the start, like, you know, your clothes, give them to me, and then, fuck you, asshole, little shove, and then all of a sudden it's like rips the guy's heart out. It's like, what the hell? Like, and then the scene in the gun shop with the guy, which kind of a little bit of banter, like, oh, we'll finish early today, and it's like, and then like just all of a sudden, so you can't do that, and like wrong, and just blows his head off, whatever. You know, it's just like.
Just as I think Hooper described the shark as an unstoppable killing machine.
Yeah, mindless. I think it was
mindless. Sorry,
something like that. Yeah,
mindless killing machine. Well, I love the scene in when Sarah rings from Tech Noir, when she rings back to the apartment, and the answering machine says, "It's her." I can't remember her friend's
Ginger.
name. Ginger, and Ginger's like, "Hey," and I was like, "Ha, I got you. You're talking to a machine." But the machines need love as well. But the T-800 is listening through the machine. So you're talking to a machine. But she is talking to a machine. The T-800.
I didn't pick up on that.
I loved that scene.
Yeah.
I loved that. I thought that little moment was just it's done so well. It's a subtle little thing like that. Like I was saying earlier, but like everything is there for a reason.
Yeah. His eyes darting as well. Joe, when he's in the cop car and he's like scanning the area and his eyes just kind of dart back and forth, just surveying
like a security camera.
Yeah, just it's really creepy, like, you know.
There is one scene that I'm not sure about. It's the scene where he's taking out his eye. I don't know if you noticed, but his right eye, you see what looks like a tear come down.
Oh, that was the water.
Now I assumed that's what it was, the water, but it seemed like it was one tear-like shape coming down from his eye. It's very prominent in the shot. I mean, I can't imagine they're suggesting he actually is feeling pain, or something.
Maybe just the skin or something, because it's a kind of function that they have tears in to make it seem believable. I don't know. Like, doesn't they say they sweat or something?
It's probably just water or sweat, but it looks like a tear. And I'd be surprised if James Cameron left it in and didn't consider that. But I don't know. I mean, there's nothing else anywhere in the film that suggests there's any kind of emotion at all. So I think it probably is just water. But just something I thought,
that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't actually notice it, to be honest. But
one other thing as well that I really liked, and you can come in then, was there's a scene later where he's sitting. I think he's just before he goes to the motel. I think it is. I think he's before he goes probably to kill her mother, which is an awful scene. But
the fly.
Yeah, the fly is on his face.
Because his skin is rotting. Yeah.
Now, what I thought was really interesting as well was the fly's on his face. Now, obviously, a fly lands on your face and you swat it away. You bat it away. And the fly is there to show his lack of humanity. But what I didn't realize was, I've been watching Westworld. You haven't seen Westworld yet, have you? Westworld is an excellent sci-fi drama series out at the moment on HBO. But it deals with artificial beings, artificial intelligence, and controlling them or not controlling them. But this isn't a spoiler; it's in the first episode. But it's shown several times a fly landing on their face. Now, what's funny is that in Westworld, this fly landing on the face is to show that they literally wouldn't hurt a fly. Now things change a little bit from there. I won't, spoilers for Westworld, but it's a great watch. But I think it was definitely a reference to Terminator. Like, they're both mechanical machines, and they both have this prominent fly landing on the face, and it's it's a.
And you'd probably forgotten that scene. I hadn't seen
it as a child. I didn't know. So when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, Westworld! Yeah. That's what they're doing there. They're referencing Terminator." At least I'd be astounded if it wasn't a purposeful choice by the.
I also think the So it's like the fact he's got obviously the Austrian accent. So I think in a way, the fact that his English isn't perfect, it kind of adds to that. He's like he's not. He's
monotonous.
Yeah.
I'm sure not that Arnold Schwarzenegger was monotonous in real life, but that's
when he's like listening to guns
lack
in that
of acting ability comes in handy there.
But to be fair, he can
he's acting under stuff, but look, he's no Robert De Niro.
Yeah,
I think it's. But
it did work. I thought it worked.
It added to it, and obviously just his
he does a great he does do a great job. He's really creepy, really scary, really intimidating.
And who forget the birth of that famous line, "I shall return." Oh, used it in every film afterwards, so he did. I'll come back in a little while, lads.
Well, I'll talk to you later, so lads.
I'll see you, Finton.
A reference no one in the world will get.
Not even the person who uttered it.
No.
But
not even Finton.
Receiving it. But moving on, because nobody else has a clue.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to Robocop, I suppose. So I don't know. I've got a few of them down here, but I don't know who you want to talk about and who you don't want to talk about.
Okay, well, would you want me to list who I have? Well, obviously we have Murphy / Robocop anyway. Like that.
Let's start with Bob, will we?
Bob Martin, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So, I like everyone in this film, except for Murphy and Lewis, he's a loud, obnoxious, over-the-top character.
So you're saying you don't like him as in the story?
I don't like him. I said he's loud.
Oh, no, okay. Sorry, I thought first you were saying you didn't like character, like as in like, as an ingredient in the film you didn't like him.
No, I'm saying like every other character except for Murphy and Lewis, he's turned up to 11.
Oh, he's 12.
When he he's just so abrasive and over the top. But what he's Dr. Frankenstein.
I didn't think of that.
But he is.
Yeah,
he takes the dead body, pieces them back together again, and he creates this new machine, and he does it for his ego.
Yeah.
He does it for his gain. He doesn't think about the humanity of what the man that was there.
No.
I mean, Robocop is Frankenstein. I mean, I realize this. And I'll get into it again later with Robocop himself, but he is Dr. Frankenstein. And so when I realized that, I became much more interested in him. Because, I'll be honest, I don't think his character has much depth, really.
To me, he's like a younger version. He's not as bad as Dick Jones, but I feel like
he is Dick Jones.
No.
Yeah.
I said
Dick
he would become.
He
would become. No, because I'm just saying, because Dick obviously worked with like Boddicker and him, so he's like scumbag. Murphy or Bob Martin is a absolute like. What was it? The surgeon says something to Lewis about like he's a. That's some kind of whatever. Yeah, say something anyway. But he is like, and he even when they're like saying like, he doesn't have a name. He's a program. He's our product.
Yeah.
There's no.
I mean, he's basically a slave owner. Like we're talking about slavery there.
And even though he talks to the cops, that's obviously I'll have you for this. Official Aussie business. So get lost. Just like looks down on everyone, like just like
arrogant. Yeah.
And that's why, like in a way, it's hard to have sympathy for him when he's killed.
I said that as well. Like. And I thought it was an interesting choice because normally when the head bad guy gets the, head henchman guy, Clarence or whatever, his head hefty, to kill the creator of the hero,
that's the thing.
It's a sad moment.
Yeah.
But you're like, nah, that guy deserves it. Yeah, blow him.
And you're like, Robocop, I think will do fine without him there on. But it's like, but it is weird because he almost felt like he was kind of on Robocop's team in a way because he created Robocop in a strange way. Even though it doesn't
weird. And it's funny is that like as bad as he is the person who instilled the ideals that Robocop worked by. Protect the innocent. Uphold the law. Like he's the guy. He's like a terrible father, but he still instilled his son with the right ideals.
As well, he says, like when so after the glitch incident, and he says like, well, we have our prototype for Robocop running, and it's like, okay, I want stuff on my desk within the next month. And then he's talking to his partner, and he's saying like, oh, we just wait for some poor schmuck to become available.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
basically just saying, hey, wait till some cop is blown away and then, like, get his body in and then just like...
I mean,
you know,
proper heartless.
Yeah.
But they all are, basically.
That's what I'm saying. I said pretty much everyone in this film is an
and what hits me often is that the dispensers of violence or the organizers of violence receive violence.
Yeah.
And he dies a sad, brutal death. But we're not sad one bit to see him go.
That's the thing, they're controlling, like they're dictating everything, making it seem like we're out to protect the innocent and all this, but really it's all about like profit and getting money and all that, just power, position, getting up to the top. That's all that's really.
We'll jump on Dick Jones because they're kind of related, and I just have 2 words. Now I might bleep that afterwards. So,
well, you were saying about last week.
Yeah,
a couple of things.
We're going to try and keep this PG. So any swear words will probably be beeped. But just for those of you who want to know what I said, it's the C word. He is a very conniving individual. That famous C word.
Like, I just have the 3 words. Just a glitch. I know we already, but like, just like, yeah. Sorry, I just.
Yeah, no, there's not much to him. He doesn't have a character arc. He's a caricature of weapons manufacturers that thrive off of war and death and it lines their pockets.
But I laugh at a lot of his lines, like the line where he's
he is funny.
Where he's like saying about I'd guaranteed military money for the next 20 years. Who cares if the thing didn't work?
And see, the thing is, I think these a lot of the characters in this film aren't really characters. They're devices for getting across points.
But you know what I think is an interesting thing? I don't know if you thought of this or not, but like, I feel like, so he creates Ed 209. Martin makes Robocop. And obviously there's the thing about like, Martin says like, look, we're young, he's old, and that's life. And the fact that Ed 209 has like faults in it, that it's not perfect, it almost mirrors. He's kind of pushing on, getting a little older. Where Martin is fresh, young, vibrant. Robocop is, works really efficiently. It's kind of a thing as well.
That makes sense. And then, of course, he dies the terriblest, hilarious, ridiculousest death I've ever seen.
I like the Joe's like, the old man gets it, and then it's like I can't shoot a senior officer of OCP, and then like, Dick, you're fired! Like, you're fired. And
it's cut to Bob's friend, thumbs up. We go to Clarence.
I mean, I love Clarence.
Clarence is...
I love Clarence.
I mean,
I think everybody loves Clarence. I said, if you like Robocop, you love him.
Hilarious character. Fantastically acted.
Yeah.
I think the best acting of the film was Clarence. Really, really funny.
You love, basically, like, to me, it was like, you love to hate him. You love hating him.
But you know what?
But you find him, he's likable as well.
No, he is. But in a way, he is, because he's so funny.
Yeah.
Like his introduction, like, you burnt money. Yeah. Like, that alone. I mean, just the way you read Foreman said to Eric.
Yeah, I didn't like even with Emil. He's like, we got someone on our train. It's like, just shut the up and drive. Just like the way he just screams at them,
But
I'd say he loves playing the role. As an actor, he'd just be so much fun,
But one thing that stood out to me, and I'm not sure if it was meant or not, or if that's what it was, but when Murphy's death scene, when they're all blowing him away, and he goes, all right, but like, is he showing a bit of humanity by putting him out of his misery? Like, I feel like the other lads would have no problem keeping him alive for hours and just shooting him away.
I think he says, okay, playtime's over.
Yeah, and he just does it. Like, I'm not saying that he's an empathetic character and he feels sorry for Murphy, but I wonder, is there just a little thing there that he... Maybe there's not, but...
Maybe not, because I remember, like when he's pointing at Joe, he's like, I don't like cops, and cops don't like me, and then he's just kind of like, no. That's really, like, proper,
it is.
Just playing with him, Joe, it's sadistic playfulness, kind of,
He's a proper villain.
Yeah.
And And then I never forget the toxic waste guy. What's his name again?
Emil.
Just driving through him.
Sorry, I might have done a terrible bodyguard impression. I don't know. But I was like, didn't give me his line.
Why am I calling him Clarence? That's his first name.
Yeah, Clarence Bodyguard.
Yeah,
you're right.
I was going Clarence though. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. Did he know? Because I don't know if they fully established it. Like, I feel like he did, but did he know that Robocop was Murphy? Because Joe, at the end when he's walking up, he's like, Joe, Clarence, Joe's the final show, and he's like, I'm not arresting you anymore, and he's like, hey, you're taking this kind of personal, aren't you?
Oh yeah, he must have, yeah.
Yeah. So he did know it was Murphy.
But Emil, but he probably would have told him.
Yes, I was thinking, yeah, because he's like, you're dead, we killed you.
Yeah.
Can we actually talk about that scene just for 1 second? We'll get back to Bodyguard in just...
Sure.
Emil, what a... Like, I've always liked this scene. Okay, he's getting... The guy's giving him the money, petrol or whatever, filling it up. Why does he have to? I know I know why he does it, but I still ask the question: why did he have to do that?
Yeah,
the guy's giving him the money.
You know why
he's not resisting.
The screenwriter wrote that scene. But you don't know. Yeah.
He's just like, why? You're such. That's why, like, when he dies, you don't give a shit.
Oh,
you're
like,
you're like, deserved this.
Yeah,
you know.
There was just an act of extreme inhumanity.
Yeah. Just absolutely horrendous.
But we jump on to Lewis.
Did you have anything else? I think there was some Bodyguard.
I'd say he died well.
Yeah, it was a great way to see him out, kind of like, you know. But I think you needed that, like, you needed the kind of a it wouldn't have worked if he had been in toxic waste, because I think he needed to kind of have that. It was more personal with Robocop.
Yes.
That he physically. You know,
narratively you need a conclusion there.
But I just again, Clarence Bodyguard, love him.
Yeah,
he's one of the best villains.
He's a good character.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lewis starts off showing her as strong, like when she's arresting the guy.
Beats up the guy, yeah.
But then she's a bit useless.
That's why she's useless. She's not in a lot of the film.
No, but like she's like there, like she has like courtside seats to Murphy getting riddled. When what's his name, the guy, I think Cox is his name. But she says, God, yeah.
No, but like, because he's like, you mind if I zip this up?
Yeah, no, it looks down, it's knocked down. Yeah. And then she just like crawls over and just watches Murphy getting like disintegrated, and then just goes away like, oh, sorry about that, Murph.
And is she not like? I guess she couldn't. I was going to say, did she not like try and get Bodyguard him in prison? But I guess OCP are protecting them. Like,
okay, I know she comes to his aid later when Robocop is being confronted by the police. But I mean, that's basically it. She brings him some baby food, and that's about it, really. And she chases him.
I guess
with
she kind of she kills Leon. At least, the big explosion or the
she does.
Do that.
Yes, see, I think for me I'm guilty of, I think, seeing the sequels, and she's
more prominent than them. Yeah, I haven't seen the sequels in a long time.
Yeah, a long time as well. But I have this memory of her being a prominent character, and she's not at all in this. She's very much a side character.
I guess like she kind of helps to bring out
she's there to bring out
humanity side of it. And she does rescue him when he's being attacked.
Yeah, I know, I said that.
And she, you did, sorry.
I hope the listeners listen to me more than you do.
Well, yeah, she also, she refers to Murphy earlier in the film as well, like, Joe Murphy, it's you. So she still sees who it really is, seeing who he really is, I guess, But yeah, I think she wasn't in it enough to be a prominent player in it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously she's there at the end, like, but I thought...
Yeah, I just...
there wasn't a lot to go on, I thought.
I didn't think she was a great character, to be honest. Murphy, Robocop?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mentioned earlier, but he's just this traditional hero, the old school gunslinger. Mm-hmm. He kind of, even like when he's a kid, like compares
watching
him
the westerns
the Western, sci-fi Western on TV.
Yeah.
He's totally that, and you feel for him in the death scene. We've covered this, I know, quite a bit, but I'm just going. But it's so decadent of death that you can't help but laugh, which again I get is the point. But you disagree.
Can I make this is something I read about, and in watching it back, I'm like, yeah. Some people have written things saying that Robocop is kind of like a Christ figure in that he rises from the dead, comes back. You have that kind of like, it's like a crucifix scene where he's like blown apart, and more so when Boddicker, Joe at the end when he stabs him with the big kind of and you see the blood, and it's like a crucifix. He's up against those kind of
you know what? That's true.
But more so, and I didn't notice this, Joe, when he comes in and he's like, Clarence, and he's like, I'm not arresting you anymore. And there's that kind of triumphant music. He's walking on water.
I never noticed that, I have to say. Because for me, he was already established as Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
For me, at this point.
That's fair enough, yeah. It's just maybe another angle to look at from another side. I think some people have...
Yeah, no, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. But one of the scenes actually that moved me the most in this film, and there are a couple of Robocop, is the New Year's Eve party scene. When he wakes up and...
He sees them all kind of...
Yeah, but there's something about the way they demean him and treat him like one that maybe he's like...
A toy.
He's not a real person, he's a toy.
Yeah. I think they're pet.
They're dancing around him, dismissing the pain and turmoil that which he's going through and gone through. And
they don't even pay attention, remember when he's kind of having the episodes.
But just in that party scene, it reminds me of My Left Foot, which is a very odd comparison, I know. A biopic of an Irish artist and writer who had cerebral palsy in the 50s to 80s, or whatever it was, 40s to 80s. I'm not sure when he was born, but
that is an interesting connection.
Yeah, but the reason being is when he was younger, Christy Brown, he couldn't speak, and so people assumed that he was mentally, disabled as well as physically disabled, but he wasn't. So he was just a really intelligent, creative person trapped in this body. And like, there's one scene where like one of the neighbor women comes over and is like watching him while his mother's gone away, and she's like, "Oh, you poor misfortunate," and like talking about him like he's a piece of crap right in front of him, and you can hear every word, and it's just really heart-wrenching. And it evoked that in me here, where he's hearing and seeing what they're going on. They're dancing around, pretending like nothing's going on. And he's experiencing the worst moment of his life.
Yeah,
like I can't imagine. Like, and this, what they kind of like, similar to the trapped-in syndrome, where you can't speak, hears, you can't say or do anything, but you're trapped in your head, and it must be an absolutely terrifying.
Well, even because he has that vision, Joe, when he's in the hospital just before he dies, he has visions of like his son and his wife, and then it just cuts like to Boddicker and the rest of the group killing him, and it's kind of like the last memories kind of for him as that, then like being like taken away. And even then when he goes to the house, there's actually, you see a kind of a cup with a chip gone on it, kind of like there's a broken cup or something on the counter, and almost kind of represents the broken family, like what was taken from him,
but also him being a broken
him as well. Exactly. I think that was actually quite a powerful scene, I thought, when he goes back and kind of reads what, because he's starting to remember who he was. And then he'll eventually, so it's just kind of maybe hope for him first, like I'm finding out who he was, but then he'll just come to realize that his family left. They thought he was dead, started up a new life, you know what I mean? So it's very tragic.
It is, and it's one of the few scenes that there's no humor at all in it. Except for maybe the scene where he punches the ad, but that again is the film kind of showing its cards by, like, the whole film has, by including ads in it, and the ads are fantastic. I mean, they're so good. Excellent parody, but the entire film, and I think is what everybody wanted to do, was just punch the ad, and Robocop literally does it. He ends the ad by punching the screen. He lashes out, and I think that is an extremely important moment. That is the moment where he becomes Robocop. Like, he's no longer a company man. He's his true moment of realization that he's going to fight the system. That he realizes he's a cog in a machine. He has no control over his life, and that what's been taken away from him, what he's lost, and he's going to try and regain some control over his life.
And I think as well, like in the final scene, the fact he takes the mask off, it almost feels like he's a little more vulnerable. Like they're more of a challenge to him now.
It humanizes
exactly.
him,
So I think that was good. And then obviously in the last scene, so when when he shoots Dick Jones out the window, and then the old man says like, "Nice shooting, son. What's your name?" And he's like, "Murphy." It's like a perfect final line.
Yeah.
But also the fact the old man is giving him respect. He doesn't see him as an OCP product. He says, "Good shooting. What's your name, son?" He's talking to him like he's a person. So it's like he kind of found a bit of that humanity
Respect.
came back. Yeah.
Yeah, because earlier, before that, and back to my Frankenstein's monster analogy, and you have this scene where the cops are all chasing him, and like so, all they try to completely fur him, and then they turn, and it reminded me of the scene where the villagers start chasing Frankenstein's monster, and I said everything, he was going okay, he was playing with the little girl, and then everything turns.
Yeah.
When Frankenstein's monster, not Robocop, for anybody who wasn't quite following what I was saying there, but so I really like that kind of tragic kind of, like, he's doing everything right and he's still being hounded and chased down, but the line, I think my favorite line in the film, and the favorite pretty part of the film, is with Lewis, and he says, "They'll fix you. They fix everything."
Yeah.
And he says they fix everything with this kind of just this reluctant acceptance.
Yeah.
That like they fixed me.
Yeah. It's not truly what he wants, but it's
I'm
like
fixed.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And like and you wonder, like, in that moment he's thinking, I would have been better off dead. And because Robocop is a very over the top film, but it has an undercurrent of we've already covered an undercurrent of real political satire, but here is, I think, quite overt in that it's emotion and what it's saying, and I thought it was a really powerful line. I think he's partially accepted that the state of the world he's in, and what he's
like a clog in it now.
I thought it was, I really liked it.
I guess that's a natural conclusion on the characters, unless there's anything else.
No, that's it. I think. So, will I vote first on this one, I suppose? Yeah. So, again, to be honest, this is easy for me. Robocop is the only character I thought was like Clarence is fun.
Yeah, he's an entertaining character.
And there are really funny moments and entertaining moments. Like, it is a really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very good movie, and I love because I always wrote Robocop off as a mindless action film, and I had learned that it wasn't, but I realize now just how good it is at what it was.
Yeah.
But again, Terminator was a more powerful film, and the characters. Sarah and Reese. Sarah in particular, I think. I know you're a huge Reese fan, but I thought Sarah was the strongest character in Terminator. And for me, Sarah and Robocop were the two characters I'd say that's out of all the characters who I would find the strongest. But I would go with Sarah, and I would go with Terminator.
Same really. I think there's lesser prominent characters in Terminator, but you have Sarah and you have Reese, two really strong characters, really powerful. And I would have to go with that. I agree. Like, Robocop is a really complex character. It goes through a lot, and there are some strong moments. But I think there's more in Terminator. And again, I guess it's because one is a 100% serious story, where the other has elements of serious moments, but as you said, it is a kind of a spoof / parody, kind of over the top.
It's difficult to compare.
It is in a way.
Like, it is a difficult.
But if someone told me, like, but essentially, if it is who do I think has better characters, I'm going to say Terminator.
Yeah. And really, I kind of the reason why we compare these two is the classic super final round. Wait a minute, what's this? Who would win in a fight? T-800 or Robocop?
That just segued so quickly.
Didn't know I was bringing that up, did you?
That was such a quick segue. Like, it was like, so this could be Robocop's moment to finally get a consolation.
Who wins
the
in a
win in
fight?
this fight?
Okay, I'll talk while you're thinking.
Yeah.
I've thought about this for a while because I thought of the question. Although, as I thought of the question, I think every child has said this in the school ground at some point. No, T-800 would win. No, Terminator. Well, probably more Terminator would win or Robocop would win. I think, even though I kind of want to give it to Robocop, I'd give it to T-800 simply because he has no human parts. And so Robocop is a little more fragile.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he has a brain.
Yeah.
And, like, we see, the scene where Sarah crashes the truck and then he's let on fire and, like, his flesh literally melts off and he's still going.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, one thing I meant to bring up, which is on that scene. I love the fact that he still sold the leg. So he damaged the leg earlier in the film and he's dragging it along. Again, a wrestling term. But, like, he's dragging the leg along. I love the continuity of that.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Again, you said it's the details.
Yeah, the details.
But anyway, back to...
Yeah, but I think T-800 win because he doesn't have any flesh and Robocop does.
Yeah, I guess he'd probably be harder to destroy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like probably tougher, I guess. Or more... well,
I mean, Robocop's pretty tough.
Robocop is tough, but I guess he would be more able to withstand more damage, I guess.
Yeah, I just think, if they both went into a furnace, T-800 probably coming out and Robocop's probably not.
Yeah.
That's a sad end for Robocop. Any final thoughts, Liam?
It was cool to kind of watch them back to back. Just watch Terminator, I didn't watch Robocop because I'd never done that, so that was kind of interesting. But I just realized how different they are in tone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You really, like, I knew Robocop was because I've seen it a lot more recently than you had, but you really see it, especially when you watch. Like, Terminator is such a dark, brooding film, and Robocop
is funnily dark, but in very different
in a different
ways.
way. Yes, yeah.
They weren't the perfect matchup. Like, but then, like, Batman and Dark Knight are very different films as well.
Yeah. No, I did enjoy kind of. I guess I just enjoyed talking about them.
Yeah, no, like, it's something, again, as I said, as kids have argued since the films came out. And people compare them, to classic sci-fi films, cyborgs.
It just felt natural that they put them together, kind of.
But yeah, I think they're both excellent examples of 80s sci-fi cinema. Terminator took it. What was it? 8-0 at the end. 6-0 and then 8 if you count the final. But Robocop is an excellent film, and I've really reevaluated my opinion of it. I really enjoyed it.
Would you have it be on a list of your favorite 80s films? Maybe I know there's a lot of great 80s
films to think about.
But maybe you get into your top 40 or 50, maybe. Would it?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
I mean, Terminator is one of my all-time favorite films. It'd be like top 10 definitely. Could be pushing top 5. But Robocop is a really, really entertaining film. I like it a lot. So yeah, I really enjoyed both of them. So
okay, so that's it for this week. I
feel like we were longer this week than
I think we may have been
last week.
I think maybe a little too long. Sorry if you're still listening. sorry about that. Join us next week, where I'm not sure who we have. What do we have next week?
Is it Godzilla versus King
Kong?
I believe,
Yes.
The original.
That will be interesting.
Yeah, it's such a different change of pace as well. Like,
that will be interesting.
Different...
I've never seen King Kong. Or sorry, I've never seen Godzilla.
I've seen King Kong. I haven't. The only Godzilla I've seen is the 90,
yeah, we're not doing that. I've never seen the classic Japanese Godzilla. So that would be interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the first film that I've never seen that we'll do. So it'll be fun. Yeah. Okay, so until then, I'm Eamon.
I'm Liam. And we'll leave it there. So.
We'll leave it there. So.